pads and rotor upgrade on a Ford Econoline E250 with the Quigley conversion, four-wheel drive conversion. That puts a lot of question marks into the equation because you're not going to be able to order stock part numbers. You're going to have to actually order the manual from Quigley on which parts they used by VIN, and then you're going to have to cross over parts. The hardest part of this entire process was actually finding the correct part numbers for the rotors and brake pad upgrade that would actually work on it. So make sure that you get your numbers crossed over. Quigley used Dana 44 for this particular model. I think the newer ones, they use a Dana 60. They use a 1-ton axle on it, but this was only a 3/4 ton van. It was the HD version, but they still went with the Dana 44. Irregardless, we've got the parts down, and basically what happened was we're running through brake pads higher than normal, simply because the vehicle's heavy. It's completely loaded to capacity at about 80 to 100 pounds, whatever it says in the door there. I roll it across the scale and make sure that it stays right at that weight. So you need to be sure that you're under your weight limit. This one's right at it, plus the added features with the four-wheel drive, the transfer case, front axle, heavy-duty springs, all that stuff is going to add weight to it. Basically, it's just completely loaded down all the time, driving in severe conditions, snow, mountainous terrain, up and down, very, very steep passes and steep driveways. And on top of that, we'll throw a trailer with a safe on there and add a couple extra 1,000 pounds to that. So that's kind of why we're in the position that we're in. I couldn't find a 1-ton van with the four-wheel drive conversion with a decent price range, so this is what we got. We'll make it work. But we were burning through brakes a little too quick, so this is going to be the solution to that. Basically, this is the old rotor here. You can see no slotting, no porting, just smooth. And this is the upgrade right here. This is from StopTech, and that's going to be your part number that I needed for the Dana 44 conversion right there. And then these are going to be the brake pads that we're going to be using right here. And these are going to be a heavy-duty towing type of brake pad. Basically, they say light truck and SUV, but the guy that actually works there and talked to me about this stuff says these are great for heavy-duty towing applications, transport drivers, stuff like that. Basically, the heavy-duty of the heavy-duty side of things. So there's a part number for that too, so you'll know what to order if you have this same system right here. And let's talk about what that slotting and porting does to it. Basically, the slotting and porting, when you brake, the main enemy and the main destroyer of things is heat. So what it does is it disperses the heat because it's slotted and ported. It lets those gases escape as the rotor rotates, and it keeps it cool. So if we can keep the front cool, the front does about 70% of the stopping, 60-70% somewhere in there. So if we can get the front cooled down, then we're going to ease things up on the back too. So with the heavy-duty brake pads, they're going to last longer. They're going to be a stronger material. They're going to create more friction in the stopping process. And the slotting and porting is actually going to let the gases escape, so that's going to help everything stay nice and cool. And if we keep it cool up here, it'll keep the rest of the braking system cool. So let's just go over things a little bit here. We've got our jacking this up. We got some wheel chocks behind there. Definitely need some stands. Set the weight back down on your stands. Make sure everything's good and safe. And then this is going to be the layout and some of the tools that you're going to need. You're going to need an Allen head wrench, standard size. Looks like it's a 5/32 to take the hub off. Then you're going to have the four-wheel drive gear. Then you're going to have the gear engagement spring. Then you're going to have a snap ring, so you're going to need some snap ring pliers. Then we're going to have another snap ring that was pulled out with just a flathead screwdriver. Then we're going to have the actual hub. And then we're going to have the wheel bearing nuts here. And these, you're going to have two of them. And these You can remove with a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, just basically putting the screwdriver in and tapping it in the direction you want it to go, but it is recommended that you get an actual spindle nut or wheel nut wrench and socket, which you can usually rent at your hardware store. So that's how far you're going to have to tear this thing down. Then your wheel studs are going to be what holds the rotor to the hub. So you're going to need to, once you get it off in this position, make sure you hold your wheel bearing in there, apply these nuts, your lug nuts, back on, and then tap them with a large hammer like so until they come out. That's how you're going to get to this point right here, where we're actually going to go ahead and start putting this and assembling it back together. Now, all this was done with hand tools. It would be a whole lot quicker and a whole lot nicer if we were doing this in a shop and had a press to press the stuff in and, you know, do all that stuff and have air tools and everything like that. But to be perfectly honest, we're only in this about a half hour. So by the time we get it put back together and then do the other side, hand tools, not taking, you know, just taking my sweet time, this is an under 2-hour job that requires no specialty tools, except for the wheel nut wrench, which you could probably rent or buy from your local auto parts store. So we'll go ahead and we'll start buttoning this back up and putting it back together. And then when we take the other side apart, we'll go into a little more detail, show you where the hidden snap ring is, because it's really difficult to find if you don't know what you're looking for, and go into things with a little bit more detail that way. Thanks for watching. I guess we'll just go ahead and do this whole thing in reverse order here. Next is going to be this little spacer ring right here. You're going to have a little indent in it, and that's going to follow the indent up here on the spindle, so you can see that. Okay, next wheel nut is this one here. Now the second one, you can go ahead and tighten. You want this one tightened all the way because this is going to act as the locking nut for the entire system. Once again, a very, very important step for making sure that this wheel hub assembly stays put together correctly. But again, we don't want to over-tighten. Okay, then we're going to put in this. And this is going to go with these threaded holes out, so because that's what the hub is going to attach to. Maybe. There we go. And then this snap ring right here is going to go right in here, and it's going to click into a groove that's pushed in right out here. Now it's nice and flat. Then this snap ring is going to snap directly onto the axle. Maybe. So basically what I'm doing is hooking my screwdriver in the lip and pulling that out so this can set in there. Okay, come on. There we go. So what that does is that catches in that little lip and sits and holds the axle in place. Then we're going to put our spring, gear, screw that holds the gear in place so it doesn't fly out. And then hub assembly goes back on. You're going to want to get your hands clean to mess with the brake pads and the rotor, because we don't want any grease that's on our hands to get on there. Okay, so basically we've got our old brake pads here. They just slide right out. The new ones slide right in. You just pull this clip off the back and you can see they just slide right in. So, and then we put our clip back on. That will hold them in place. Before I took the old ones out, you leave the old pad in, compress it gently with a C-clamp, put it right here, compress these pads back. That's going to allow the room for the new brake pads because they're thicker, and the rotor. Then make sure we don't have any grease on our hands, and install. And these are going to be your clips. These are what we're used to take out this particular device. All they do is tap right in with a hammer and a punch. You tap them out to get them out, and we tap them back in. If you got supplied with new ones, it's suggested that you use the new ones to go ahead and reinstall. Same with the bottom. Probably should put the bottom ones in first. And just like that. Everything's held in place. Rotor is spinning. I highly suggest that you follow the directions and spray this down with some brake clean. If you need to re-scuff the surface, go ahead and do so. Read your instructions on that, and you should be good to go. Brake clean this down. In there. Get all the grease off of it. And you have new brake pads. we'll go ahead and do this on the other side and see what happens there.